Yeah, I mean, Sean Dyche is again one of the English managers that is heralded here for doing so well with Burnley. You know, I think if you go back a month ago, there was a question mark over whether Burnley were going to be able to sort of fight off a relegation battle, and I don't think it was ever in doubt. Not because Burnley are a great side or Sean Dyche is a great manager, but more that the three sides at the bottom of the table just haven't got the ability to get out of that position. But yeah, he's doing fantastically well. You would want to be finishing in the European qualification positions, of course, but a very, I wouldn't say underrated, because as an English manager goes, in England, he is highly rated. But at the expectations are similar to possibly Leicester going back before they won the league. You know, anything in the top half of the table is an amazing performance by either the team or the manager at the time. So Sean Dyche is up there in that category.
It's the reason I said underrated was about 2.5 hours before kickoff in today's game, the one we just covered, Leicester-Liverpool, I had a conversation with Chris Wilder ahead of their match on Monday night or Tuesday morning here in Malaysia. And the first question I asked him was about English managers in the Premier League being underrated, because we have these continental managers, Guardiola, Klopp, we can go through the years, Mourinho, Conte, those who have won the Premier League, outshining the local talent, and perhaps local British managers not being given opportunities or not enough opportunities at big clubs, at the top six, the big six clubs. You know what I mean, JMO?
Hang on a minute. So Frank Lampard walks into the Chelsea job and he gets sacked after, 6 months? You know, Scott Parker's at Fulham. Any Premier League club is a big job. I think you have to put that in a context. And English managers do get that. Not enough managers, perhaps, if I'm being selfish for the English managers' cause. And I'm a qualified manager and haven't managed in the Premier League. So maybe that's why I'm a little bit disgruntled that way. But it's not that they don't get the opportunities. And correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm just flicking through my brain now. I'm trying to think of the English manager who won the Premier League.
There isn't one. There's been British managers, so Alex Ferguson being the best example.
Adam, and this is the point. So English managers haven't won the Premier League. It becomes an easy argument. And when you say that Sean Dyche, you know, underrated, well, I don't think he's even qualified for the Champions League. So it's not as if he's actually done anything of success rate that would justify his sort of higher echelons in the Premier League manager stakes.
With Burnley and the size of the club, he did get them to the qualifiers for the Europa League a few seasons ago, which you have to admit, by their standards, is certainly a big achievement. You're still shaking your head. I mean, it's Burnley Football Club you're talking about.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm saying genuinely, you know, this is like Thiago's 7.5 out of 10 for Liverpool. You know, it depends what standards you're measuring it at. And the point being is that finishing in Europa League, or actually qualifying for the Europa League, is an achievement, yes. But when it comes to being a top Premier League manager, then it's qualifying for the Champions League, if not challenging to win the title. And going back to Brendan Rodgers, he's put himself in a position where he, again, will be challenging, hopefully, as far as King is concerned, I'm sure, challenging at some point for Premier League titles, which will put him in that higher echelons.
Well, Kingy, I just want to throw in you back into the conversation, of course, because the other examples I gave were Chris Wilder, Graham Potter and what he's achieved at Brighton, changing the way they play, finally getting the results they wanted, and Dean Smith at Aston Villa, who's turned around their form from last season to this season. And with a couple of games in hand, maybe they'll be qualifying for the Europa League.
Yeah, they certainly look like the ones who are going to be finishing the highest out of those group of clubs you just mentioned there. He's doing a brilliant job there. This season, Dean Smith, albeit maybe Villa's budget is probably bigger than the other clubs you mentioned. You know, it's a massive football club, but that's nothing to say. They've obviously still got to invest that money wisely. They've still got to get the right players in, and I think they have done, and they're obviously all playing for him. And the way they've been playing this year, like you say, with a couple of games in hand on teams above them, if they then win those, they're right in the shake-up for certainly Europa League and looking up rather than down. And
in Sean Dyche's defence, JMO, last year, I think they spent £1 million on players.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. As I said, Adam, don't get me wrong. Being a manager in the Premier League is an achievement in itself. And it's not that Sean Dyche isn't doing a great job. And I'm just saying, when you sort of view the point of he's being underestimated or not looked upon in the right category, well, he hasn't done enough to put him up there with the likes of, I mean, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at the moment is, you know, in a Champions League position with Manchester United, a possible challenger for Manchester City. and getting to latter stages of Champions League. Well, actually, you got knocked out, of course. But the point being is the expectations of Manchester United are very different to that of Burnley. So his underachievement might be finishing third, whereas Burnley's is getting into the knockout or the qualification stages for the Europa League. That's my point.
I guess it was more along the lines of the questioning with Chris Wilder was the British manager's not been given a chance. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, his experience in the Premier League before was getting relegated with Cardiff. Now he's at Manchester United.
I can't just. You did mention Graham Potter there. Graham Potter and he was part of my cohort for the pro license. This guy is very, very good. Again, he's put himself similar to what Brendan Rodgers has, or I suggested he might have with Leicester. He is at a football club which is perfect for his type of management. You know, the comment was that he interviewed Brighton rather than Brighton interviewed him. So, you know, he's put himself in a perfect position. If he can get the success with Brighton, fantastic. But I also think that he has the capabilities of managing one of the top sides rather than, shall we say, the nepotism that often goes on in the Premier League by bringing the young English manager straight to the fore, and the quite often disastrous results that brings.
Yeah. Well, if you ever get a job in the Premier League, if you're ever looking for a guy in media,
you're my man, Adam. You're my man.
Thank you. I'll remember this conversation. It is being recorded. King is also a witness to this.